Yay, welcome to the new episode on From Grind to Grace. And I have a very interesting topic for today, a very different angle. I have another guest, and my question is to you, listener, what if all the answers that you've been ever looking for and searching and trying to understand something, what if all the wisdom and all the intelligence is already there? And by there, I mean inside of you. And what if you can have a serious conversation, maybe playful conversation, I don't know, we'll find out, with yourself to get those answers? Wouldn't that be amazing? So that's what I'm gonna be asking today's guest. But first, about this podcast, in case you are new, this podcast is for the alternative entrepreneur, for the entrepreneur who is ready to flip the script and start questioning the norms in this industry, for the entrepreneur who is ready to choose freedom first, meaning that freedom is not the destination, freedom is the path. Why? Because not only is it more fun, more playful, but also it results in way bigger, way more rewarding results. So, ready to do it for yourself, your children, for the industry, for the humanity? Let's play. And so, I want to welcome my amazing guest, Ellie Laliberté. I hope I said your name right. What a name,
Yes,
by the
yes,
way.
it's really not that bad.
When you said it to me, it's so soft, it's so French, you know,
Yeah, yeah, it's very French.
right? And yeah, just a little bit about Ellie, a quick intro. So Ellie is an entrepreneur and the author of the recently published book, deliciously titled Letters from You to You. Ellie guides you to explore spiritual and personal growth through writing letters. Ellie believes that the world can only become a better place if every single human being understands that the inner world is what needs to change first. So that's the big premise. And I just want to say that's the truth. And why is it so? Let's talk about it with Ellie. And very welcome. I'm really excited to about having you here, Ellie, and I'm excited for this conversation and a completely different angle. I have never talked about anything like that with any other guest on this podcast, so it's super interesting. And I believe it's going to be eye-opening and also inspiring. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And as I was telling you before, I really love your title. It really resonates with me and my story and why I even came to write this book. So yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty awesome conversation, very authentic and very free flowing, I would say.
I so first of all, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I'm so glad that it resonates. And I can say, and I told you as well, I can say I was lucky. I received a message. The reason why I called the podcast this way, it was pretty much from, what I received from the higher intelligence. Um, and I'm very happy because apparently it captures stories of so many people. So many people. Apparently, we all or most of us have a very similar story. Different context, different place, different time, maybe different nuances, but it captures pretty much everything that I've heard so far. And but also, I when I talk to people, and I'm sure it's going to be the same with you, it's very inspiring to still hear yet another angle. So many people always resonate, with stories like that. So, and that's where I would like to start, because you already mentioned, right? Tell me about exactly how you how ended up writing this book, what happened, and I'm sure we're gonna learn from your story.
Perfect. Yeah, sure. So, yeah, so I just want to elaborate on that title because, like I said, it really resonates with me because it's the reason why I wrote the book, or at least it's what life brought me to write this book and had to bring me to, this kind of uh, realization that I was grinding way too much for too long. So I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 21. I'm now 37, and I've had a couple of businesses. It was not big businesses. It was, just small businesses, but it was still businesses that I wanted to greatly succeed in. And some went well and others went to total chaos. And so I've learned throughout the years what worked with my energy and what didn't work with my energy anymore. And what I've been seeing recently, actually, in the last year or two, with personal development and, just listening to a lot of podcasts, listening to a lot of teachers, leaders out there, and just really resonating with many, many, top spiritual leaders that have been in the industry for a long time, and just explaining how we have now gone into an energy where it's no longer about, just striving so much and pushing and making things happen and just, killing yourself to really achieve and accomplish. Like, we're getting out of this energy tremendously. And I think that that's why right now, the society is being burned out and going through a lot of I would say, just probably a lot people are losing a lot of things right now, losing businesses, losing their identity because they've been identifying themselves with this role, which is to be an entrepreneur and to have that business and everything. And so I was one of those, which is, I think it's very normal when you're an entrepreneur, and especially when you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, you get to identify with that, and you get to identify with and be very proud of being an entrepreneur and doing your own thing, and just being in a completely different world from the 9 to 5 job, which is not to say that the 9 to 5 job is wrong, but it's just not the same reality. We don't go through the
I
same way
know,
of
right?
thinking.
And like
Yeah.
a lot of us, we do want to get out of 9 to 5, and
Yeah.
we end up in something
Yeah. So yeah, and
suffers.
what I've realized throughout the years is that, I never wanted to be in the 9 to 5 because I'm not someone who can be put in a box.
Mm.
And so it's funny, but my last name is Laliberté, which means freedom, right? And it
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And I don't want to say that this way, but it makes sense to me that that's my last name because I've never wanted to be confined in a box. I've always wanted to be free. So that was the reason why I would continue to be an entrepreneur, and I would do everything in my power to stay an entrepreneur, even if I would have a business that completely went to, sorry to say it that way, but completely went to shit. And I was just determined to continue to strive and make things happen and do something else to stay being an entrepreneur. But within the last 2 years, I would say, my last business that I've had, has not been really great. The industry has went down very, very in a drastic way, in a sense, because of the economy, because of COVID that happened as well. Post COVID, I was in the Airbnb management business. So there is a lot of change that has happened throughout the last couple of years, a lot of just new fees that have been added to Airbnb. And so there's a lot less people that are traveling now with Airbnb. And anyways, in my area, it really, really changed. And so I have seen a very big drop. And I was doing that for the last 6 years. So I identified myself with that business, So I needed to kind of surrender to the unknown, in the sense where I didn't know what I was supposed to do more. I was striving, like I said, I was pushing, I was trying to make things happen. I was trying to collaborate with other people that were in the same industry, and there didn't seem to have anything that was going anywhere.
And
And I
why do you think
yeah,
you were doing things the way that you were doing them?
sorry, can you repeat the
Why
question?
do you think you were doing things the way you were doing them? Like
Oh, because it
pushing
was
and
a habit. It was a habit. I've been taught to have a lot of drive. I've been told my entire
Mm,
life, like, oh my God, you have a lot of drive. And that was a quality back then, right? And so I was just being my old self, and my higher self kind of knew that I needed to die from that self, because I was overdue to understand what my natural rhythm is, as a spiritual being. I've been in spirituality for so long now. It's kind of like the two worlds weren't matching anymore, in that sense. And
mm.
I'm not saying that when you're really tapping into your spirituality, I'm not saying that it's wrong to have a business and to have a lot of drive, but there's a way of doing things where you start to allow more than push, and I needed to find the balance in that. And so throughout these last 2 years, life was showing me that I needed to completely let go of that energy, which was an old energy that wasn't serving me anymore. And obviously wasn't serving me anymore because I was not going anywhere with all of that. And my finances were taking a really big hit. And it was just like, and I was also alone. I've been on my own for the last 5 years. And so there was just this kind of energy of wanting to survive all the time. I was in survival mode. And
And
even
so
though I
can
was
I,
doing that.
yeah, you know what's interesting? You mentioned, and I got the impression that you were interested in spirituality, like kind of away, separately from your business, but you were not integrating that into your business?
Uh,
Mm.
I was integrating it in the sense where I had learned that, I wanted to work with energies that were matching my energy now. I was not accepting to work with clients that were
Mm.
um, bringing me in a lower vibration. I really wanted to stick to clients that were in the flow. And so there had been a couple of things that had worked with my spirituality throughout the last years, but there's just at a point where I was at, it was kind of my life just telling me you need to get out of the industry, because the industry is becoming too dense for you, because there was a lot of stress. There was a lot of negativity. Things have been going really high in prices, and people have a hard time paying their mortgages. So a lot of people are stressed in that energy. Everything that has to do with real estate, it's not easy, in the sense where things that went up
Wow,
too
I
high.
never thought about, so, side note, I never thought about, property, real estate business from that angle. That's so
Mhm.
true.
Yeah,
That
there's a lot
that
of stress, a
endless,
lot of stress.
that energy of fear travels
Yes.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. And so I was realizing this because I've been so much, like I said, very self-aware of my own energy and wanting to stay grounded, wanting to stay in my high vibration. But when you're in an industry of people being in survival mode all the time, it's very hard to stay connected to who you are, because now, unless you're willing to say, I don't want to be identified with my role, right? And so yeah, it's been a lot of change in that sense where I needed to surrender. And so life brought me again to my knees. I've been brought to my knees a couple of times during my life, in the last, especially in the last 6 years, because I've been on my own. Um, and I've had a couple of awakenings in that. I mean, like when I was 30, I got separated, and that was one of the biggest awakenings, I would say, because it was another shift in my, I would say, my maturity and my spirituality. So I lost my marriage. I lost my two dogs that I had for 11 years. And I lost my business all at the same time.
Mm.
And I lost pretty much everything that I owned. So I needed to understand again how to see life as we don't own anything, and that's okay. We don't have to identify who we are with our outside circumstances, right? So so that was a big shift of really realizing, like, okay, who am I now? Who am I without all of this, without the marriage, without, it was
Mm.
a 12-year relationship too. It was the first time in my life that I was on my own. And so I needed to experience, like, what does it mean to really be on your own? What does it mean to be in solitude completely and be well in that solitude? Like, be okay with just who you are, without all of the, even if it's family or a lot of friends. Like, I've lost a lot of friends in that separation because naturally people just fall away when something big like that happens. You're kind of like, you know. So it brought me to another level in my spirituality. And I've always been a writer. I've always loved to write. I've always been very, very passionate about writing, and I had written another book when in my 20s as well. So this is my second book. But I didn't know that I was gonna write a second book, to be honest with you, because the first one, when it came out, is exactly when it came out. It's when I got separated. So I didn't do anything with it because I didn't have the energy to do that, on top
Mm.
of trying to find myself work now because I was really financially broke. And so there was no more energy left for that book. So I kind of had, in a way, given up on that, so dream, if you want, of that kind of career. And then I just went all in with my new business at that time that I really developed from scratch with zero money, and well, went well at the beginning for a couple of years. But yeah, when another shift kind of happened, I knew that I was supposed to get out of that energy in that industry, but I wasn't really sure how. I didn't know where to go. I was kind of like, because like I said, I was identified to that for so long, right? And it just so happened that I was really, really good at becoming the witness of who I am and with my patterns. And I've done so much healing within those, from 2020 to 2022. I have gone through depression. I've gone through immense emotional healing, and all of that on my own, by the way. I've not gone to any therapy except for coaches. I had a coaching program that I was following, and thank God for them, because we had an amazing community of people that was just holding space for everybody that was going through the same thing, and learning breath work and learning to just heal those patterns from your childhood, to really get to know who you really are, with and connect deeply to that higher self. And so back in 2023, so last year, yeah, I didn't know that I was gonna write another book. And it just so happened that I was meditating, and I had decided to really be intense in my meditation because I had so much time to do it, and I was just really in the unknown, and I wanted to be guided. And I was sitting, and I remember just hearing this insight, like, you have another book to write. This is the title, and this is the way that you're going to write it. And I was like, whoa, okay. And that, I knew that did not come from me, like my small self. I knew
Right.
that, because I was like, I would have never thought of creating this kind of book, which is a book composed of 21 letters, and it's all letters from your higher self. It's kind of like your higher self is speaking directly to you. And so I was like, oh, that's so cool. Okay. And I just sat down and I said, just going to go with the flow and see what comes up. I connected, obviously, And I know it was kind of like a download. And
Mm.
I wrote the book within a month. And
Wow.
again, I didn't know where that book was going to go. I knew it was very important though. And again, I knew that it was bigger than me, and but I just didn't know what to do with it. So I said, you know what, this is not about me,
Right.
obviously. It is about something that's way bigger than me. And these kind of teachings, they are all composed in these letters. It's a very unique concept, and I think that it's leaving a really cool impression on
I,
readers because
yeah,
yeah,
it's so amazing, and just in the context of what this whole podcast is about, I think this is a massive example of, like, I mean, could anyone ever imagine writing a book within 1 month? Like, the way people think that it's a gradual process, the whole
Mhm.
entrepreneurship is building brick by brick, and
Yeah,
you force
yeah,
and you push and you discipline yourself and you struggle and you sit at your desk at your laptop and try to come up with ideas, and you try one
yeah,
idea and it doesn't work and you try another idea and something. And this is such a raw example of when it clicks and when
yes,
you connect to that higher intelligence or yourself, which is over there and it's in here as well. So, uh, this is what we are talking about when we say
yeah.
from
It's
grind to
flow.
grace, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. Absolutely, it's flow. I mean, I didn't grind while I was writing that book.
And you were
First of all,
happy in the moment.
I
You
was
probably
very
were
happy.
like, yeah,
Yeah, I was well actually it's very funny because it wasn't even the thing of being happy or unhappy. It was just the thing about I am connected right now and this is what I'm called to do. And I'm doing it and it's flowing and it feels effortless. Like I wasn't
this is
putting
it.
any effort into doing it. I was just receiving what I was receiving and I was putting it on paper. And I was not even editing all that much because I didn't need to, and I would reread the letter like once after I would, let's say I would do the first letter and I would reread it after. And then I would be like, oh, okay, I guess I don't have much to change because everything just flowed. And when when I wrote the book, the first draft that I wrote, um, I reread my entire book after just to see, if some things didn't make sense or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, like this is all making so much sense. And it was even like
Wow,
I was
yeah.
rereading it. I'm like, what the hell? I wrote
Did
that?
I write that slide,
Yes,
right?
I wasn't. I seriously, it was kind of surreal because I was like, I don't even remember writing this way or that teaching the way that I say this. It's not so much about like if you're really used to spirituality and you've heard people like Michael Singer, Michael Beckwith, Wayne Dyer, etc. It's not so much about someone is going to read this and be like, oh my God, I'm learning new things. These people that are used to it, I'm saying. It's about like, oh my God, it's said so differently and so direct now because it's kind of like
And you're
it's your higher
confident
self
about it. You
speaking to
don't
you.
care what others are gonna think about it because this is you, and that
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
it. And so from my in throughout my journey, I used to have glimpses, even before the big download happened. I used to have glimpses of inspiration, insights, and whatever. And sometimes, the way Facebook shows you the, memories, the posts from
yeah,
other years. I was like, sometimes I look at that, at some of those posts, and I'm like, oh my God, did I write that? That's so great.
yeah,
That's so cool. And I
yeah,
remember in what state I was when I wrote it,
exactly,
you know?
exactly. Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's where you see where our mind sometimes is so much in the way of our creation, because what we're doing really with our minds is always trying to figure out things, right? And trying to do things from the perspective of what we've done in the past and what worked. And we're trying to recreate what worked. But the thing is what I've noticed about myself is that I am not the same person as I was when I created, let's say, my first business. I am not the same person as when I created my second business. So my energy is not the same. So I can't use things that I was doing from the energy that I was in back then, because that energy is now gone. It's not working for me anymore. That was created from an energy of survival, you know? So I can't continue to create from an energy of lack, from an energy of survival, because
Mm.
the results are not going to come, because that's not who I am. And I think that that's what entrepreneurs are kind of doing, unfortunately, way too much, is that they're not realizing that, you know, their grinding comes a lot from a place of lack. It comes a lot from a place of, I want to survive. I need, you know, I need this to work, because if it doesn't work, I'm going to be blah, blah, blah. And they create this
Mm.
scenario of stress.
And
So you have to reconnect, you know?
yeah, and I mean, but you only know it when it happens.
Yes.
That's the
That's
problem, right?
that's
You
that's kind of
it's
the problem, but it's a good problem in a way if you look at it from
if you're
another
aware of it,
perspective.
right? That
Yeah.
something's missing. I was like,
Yeah.
and actually my story for this podcast was quite similar. A, a year before I started this podcast, I was thinking, maybe maybe it would be a good idea to start a podcast, but it was such a tactical thought.
Mm,
I did not start because I did at that stage I was already done creating content that didn't feel like fully me,
mm,
right? And when
yeah.
this download happened, this podcast, in that very moment, this podcast was done. And so I did it. And so I
Good.
didn't care about what anyone would ever think. I started talking about stuff that I wouldn't have talked about
Yeah.
before, and about myself and whatever. It's crazy. Like, and it's not linear. And then that's what I want listeners to hear. It's not linear. And so the biggest breakthroughs happen through this non-linear, some sort of a insight, clicking something, and then it just flows. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
for sure. I mean, it's beautiful when you can really understand how to reconnect to yourself, but unfortunately, and I guess I'm saying unfortunately because
Hmm.
it is very difficult to go back into your, you know, your patterns and see where your patterns are. But, you know, the reason why I'm able to understand what is working with my energy now is because I had to let go of the old energy that was stuck in my body that wasn't working for me anymore. But going back into you know, looking at those patterns and wanting to heal them, that's a very difficult journey to go through. It takes a lot of courage. I have been brought so many times to my knees, in the sense where it's kind of like I feel like my higher self knows how strong I am or something, and knew that I
Mm.
could handle all of it, you know. And so I didn't use drugs to cope. I didn't use alcohol to, you know, cope either, like for all of the wounds that I've discovered that I still had from my childhood. And um I knew that I had a lot of resilience, and I was built to have like to build more and more resilience, to be
Mm.
able to just, yeah, find what is freedom really, right? So um I think that for entrepreneurs, from the very beginning, when you start being an entrepreneur, you already have the idea that, you know, you have to make things happen, which is um unfortunate that we're programmed this way. Because if we would understand from the very beginning to say, you know what, this is my passion, I love what I'm doing, I want to create something out of this, but I also want to co-create with my higher self. I want to co-create with the universe. I don't want to be doing this all by myself. I don't want to grind on my own. I want to
Yeah,
trust that there's something more that knows who I am more than I am, like more than I know that I am. And I can trust that, and I can allow my life to unfold the way that
that's
it's going to
it.
unfold, you
That's
know,
it.
with
And what
the project,
this
right?
podcast is for that reason. This podcast was part of the my purpose that I got the insight of then. And so the download that you received probably had to do with sort of like understanding your purpose or where you can deeply contribute to
Mhm.
you, the collective, right? And that
Yeah,
that empowers us like crazy, because I do believe that if we don't feel that we are contributing, something is off. Like
absolutely.
if it's just money, if it's just like some sort of fame or something like that, if we do not feel that we are contributing, something feels off. That's my
Yes,
personal belief.
yes, for sure, for sure. I mean, and again, that has to do with image. When we go towards something that is going to be bringing us something that is going to kind of stimulate the identity, the false identity, which is our image. So, you know, when if you're going towards something and you want to have fame out of it, unfortunately, you're being identified with your image. And so you want your image to be more
Mhm.
important than your freedom.
Yeah, and
So so that again, but that's kind of like it's just a lack of self-awareness in a sense where who am I, and like you say, what am I trying to contribute here that is authentic to the world, that is from my true gifts, you know,
yeah.
and that is going to help other people and not just help myself, because we're now in a collective where we're supposed to co-create together and help each other
Yes.
grow. So
And I
yeah.
think, I keep hearing, and I was like that, I was never enough for myself, and I was learning these strategies. I became a quite a decent marketer and copywriter, right? But it was all about strategies and frameworks for me, right? And I remember, the way they say lead with value, give
Mhm.
value, and that's all cool. But I did not understand. Well, I understood what value is very differently.
Mhm.
Now, value to me is not your steps, how to go from here to there, 1, 2, 3, and it's the energy, it's the frequency, it's the
Yeah.
purpose, it's the heart talk, is I don't know, those
Yeah.
kind of things. It's the inspiration, the
Yeah.
transformation, whatever, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the value now is relating to other people. How can
Hmm.
you relate to other people and see yourself through someone else, really, you know? And it's kind of like what the book is all about too, which
Yeah,
is
so
this.
let's yeah,
So
so
yeah,
let's
it's
let's
what it's all about.
actually let's talk about your book. Tell me about your book, what it is about. Um, Tell me something inspiring, and me and the listener something inspiring. Why they should go get this book,
Sure.
how it's gonna help them with that specific thing, going from grind to grace.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, well, this book, as like I said, I was writing this book when I was in surrender mode. So it's all about surrendering to your higher self and letting your higher self speak to you, letting yourself hear your higher self as well. I know there's a lot of self here and it might be confusing for people, but it's really about allowing yourself to have this higher power, and you can call it whatever you want. Like I called it inner being in here, but it
Mm-hmm.
is really your higher self that is always reaching out to you to show you that it's there. And your higher self is your best friend. It's your lover. It's your, you know, your guide. It is always, always there. It's an energy that is always with you and you're never alone. And when you can understand that you have this kind of force behind you that is always wanting you to thrive and wanting you to win and wanting you to succeed in however you think, and that evolves as well, but however you think that success is like, it just brings you to the simplest. When you're reading this book, this is my feeling, it brings you to the simplest and most peaceful parts of your life. like you realize how it's really not complicated. It's not complicated to live a full life if you know that you are so powerful just being who you are in every moment and being yourself and being simple, not overcomplicating everything, and just yeah, it's really a book about I feel that the energy that comes from this book, and because I've experienced it so much with my own life, is inner peace, really. It's how to reconnect it with yourself, with your higher self, to build yourself in an inner world. So you want to be building yourself a really, really solid inner world before you can start, and this is the quote that you read a little bit, but before you can start seeing change in your outside world and stop having everything bother you, you need to go and fix what is bothering you inside of you,
Yeah,
because that's
and
really, there's a lot in there that needs to be healed and needs to be seen and held. And so this is what it's all about. There's a couple of letters in there. There's 21
and
letters.
so tell me how that is different. So you know that all entrepreneurs, if they are serious about what they are doing, they are diving pretty deep into personal development kind of things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
was I, however, that was not enough. That was
No.
that level of logic. Grinding is part of that as
Yes.
well,
Yes.
discipline, habits, and those kind of things, right? So
Mm.
how is what you have in the book different from that? I just say it mainstream personal
Mm.
development.
Well, it's really about, like I said, it's finding everything that you're wanting to achieve is an illusion in a sense, because you're always wanting to achieve and accomplish and do more and gain more and expand more with your business or whatever you're doing in your life. It doesn't even have to be a business, but you're always reaching for more because there's something inside of you that is not complete. There's
Mm,
something in you that is lacking. So you're
mhm.
trying to find something to compensate for what is lacking inside of you, always, always.
Which
And
means
that we're
that
just conditioned like that.
which means that then you operate from lack,
Yes, you're always operating from lack,
which
unfortunately.
means you are self-sabotaging.
Yeah, you're self-sabotaging, because even if you do have this success with your business, let's say you have success and everything seems to flow, everything is really well. And there are people that have that flow, and they've done a lot of work probably on themselves as well. But there comes a point as well where there's kind of like another level, because are you attached to everything that you've just built? Because if you
Mm,
are attached to everything that you've just built, and you are the success that you have, and the image that it gives you, as well as to where you're at now and how you've achieved all of what you've achieved, if you're attached to that, if it does go away and you haven't done the work within yourself, and you haven't gone into your inner world and have that really solid foundation of who you are without all of that, you are going to crumble. You're
mm,
going to fall. You're going to go into depression. You're going to really suffer, because you're relying again on something that is happening outside of you for your own happiness, and you're relying again on success that is outside of you to
mm,
feel like you've made it, like you're someone, right? So what we're trying to do as a collective now in the world, and you can just see this everywhere in the world, is come back to you, regardless of your circumstances, whether they are amazing as what you're seeing, or they are really shitty from your perspective. Come back to you as much as you can, because the solid foundation that you're going to be building inside of you by reconnecting to you in peace and silence, and just in simplicity, connecting to nature,
mm,
really, all of that is your resilience. This is what your strength is all about, right? And so this is kind of my approach that I went with this book. And like I said, I didn't have the intention of creating this book this way. It just came to me. But I had to go through so much of letting go of an identity to understand how to just be at peace with myself without anything happening outside of myself. And if I do want to have success and big success, let's just say, I need to see the success as what it is and not make it bigger than who I am. And I think that that's what happens a lot in being an entrepreneur is you're making everything outside of you bigger than who you are. You're making money bigger than who you are. And so if
Mm,
money is bigger than who you are when you have a lot of it, when you don't have any anymore because something happens or you have to go and file bankruptcy, you're also making that bigger than you, right?
right,
So
right.
we're trying to just see, how can I be enough without anything outside of me happening, without anything that I'm identifying in my life, with, even if it's as a family, your children, and you do talk about that in the book as well, where people are just really attached to their children and they feel like their children is their life. But that again is you not loving yourself fully without everything that you've created, even if it's children outside of yourself. And who are you without all of that, all of your roles that you're participating, because we have so many roles, right? The wife, the sister, the mother, the entrepreneur, the businesswoman, and I'm saying that for women, but
Yeah,
it's the same thing for men. We are addicted to our roles. Like we're addicted to identify ourselves with our roles in our lives. And we forget that we are this beautiful essence of just, we can just be, and that's enough.
yeah, yeah.
Enough.
And it's such a tricky place to be sometimes. So for quite a while, I did realize that I totally lost myself, whatever that even means. It's kind of crazy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to do me anymore,
No.
right?
Yeah.
It took a while, and I still work in progress, still work in
Yeah.
progress to find
Absolutely.
out what that is I need to do to show love to myself, to take care of myself, to put my needs first. And I do realize intellectually a lot of those things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it comes naturally, you know?
No. No. And I would have to say, probably almost 100% of the world is probably always in a working progress because we've been so much conditioned by our ego and understanding is something completely different, and living in the outside all the time.
Mm,
So living from the inside out is very difficult for humans because we have not been taught that, right? We've seen our parents, we've seen our grandparents, we've seen our teachers, we see everybody that is always trying to just survive. Everybody's always just trying to be okay. And so it's really, yes, it is a work in progress, and we're always going to go and do that work, and it's a lifestyle. I mean, this is what I've realized is never going to be done. It's a lifestyle. I'm always going to be looking at my patterns, looking at my reaction, having this mind agility of like, okay, this is triggering me right now. What am I going to do with this? Am I going to react in the moment? If I do react in the moment, can I forgive myself right now and understand where it comes from? Like, it's always a work in progress. And this is what makes us kind of have this inner peace at one point because, at least we're letting go. We're letting go of everything that has been really stuck inside of us, and we're doing as best as we can every single day to let go and make space. And I really like what Michael Singer, like he says, he's like, it's not about bringing back things in. There's a lot of things out there like affirmations and everything. It's not about bringing a lot in. It's about letting go as much as you can to just create space to find that inner peace. Because the more that you put in on top of your already existing very
mhm,
dense energy inside of you, you're even more now overwhelmed. You're more confused because you're putting good energy on top of negative energy that needs to come out, that's screaming at you every day to come out. And you're thinking that that's going to fix the energy that's in there, but that energy needs to move. And so You know, that book is also about that. When you go inside of it, you have you have letters that make you go inside of yourself and do that work and realize how to move that energy inside of you to be able to actually just free
Mhm.
yourself. Because it's about freeing yourself, becoming expansive, to be able after that to allow things to happen in your life the way that they're supposed to happen without you trying to control everything like an entrepreneur
Yeah.
always does.
And you know, we keep hearing about journaling, maybe, you know, and I, as an entrepreneur, obviously, I heard about that method quite a few
Yeah.
times, but but I wasn't doing it because one of the reasons was that I never had time for it. I just didn't have time for
Mhm.
it. I always
Mhm.
had other things to do until quite recently. So I do write also on and off a diary for my daughter, some notes for my daughter, so that she has something, you know, from me from the very beginning of her life.
Mhm.
She's gonna be 8, you know. And but you know, and there was a gap where I didn't write anything, and the reason was really I didn't know how to express myself. But I picked it up again quite recently, and I was writing to her now from a different energy. I could feel it,
Mhm.
and oh my God, the insights I was getting from
Yeah,
writing to my daughter.
that's
Ooh.
amazing. And
So
I
I'm
feel like
convinced.
what you're actually doing while you're writing to your daughter, you're actually writing to your higher self at the same time.
That's
You know,
it.
because your daughter is love. Your daughter is
Yes.
unconditional love. So your daughter is just a kind of like a catalyst for your higher self right now. So you're using her as that catalyst, right? But you're actually probably just writing to your higher self, and that's why it feels so good because you're connecting.
It's so interesting because I even took the angle a few times. My daughter told me, which she did not, but you know, I used to use a hashtag. My daughter told me, you know, which was
Yeah,
like, it was like,
my
oh
daughter told me. Who really did tell you, you know?
my
This is what's fun about this. Is this is how
God.
when we go into this inner self and we really, really, want to understand who we are from that higher perspective, we're just playing with ourselves all the time. We're playing with other people. We're playing with life. Life becomes kind of playful, as
Mm,
much as it can be really, really difficult because we have a lot of childhood trauma and we get triggered very easily. Um, when you understand that you can play with your life because you have that ability of seeing your life from that perspective, now you have the you're now free to choose the way that you want to see your life. You know now that you have a choice, and it's not just something that you're conditioned with and you're stuck with that. That's not true. We all have choice to see our lives the way that we want to see it, and that's why we have imagination. Imagination is not just for when we were a child. We can use our imagination and play with that for your entire life and decide the life that we want to live in, the reality that we want to experience, right? So what you're actually doing with your writing and with your daughter, you can really see it as um, I am just playing with my higher self right now. I
mhm.
am just seeing myself through my daughter. Every time that she's saying something to me that is making an impression on me, that's just me. That's just another perspective of myself through her. You know, that's
Yeah,
the connection that you have with her, right?
yeah.
So it's very interesting. And your journaling, I mean, I really, really uh how can I say this? This is like my biggest modality. I have been writing since I was, I think, 15. I used to write songs before. So I was writing love songs to my boyfriend when I was a teenager, right? And I never thought that I would become a writer and actually write books. But my biggest modality to express myself is writing. I love to write because writing, you're putting energy down on paper. So there's no rules. There's no rules. While you're writing and you're journaling, you're just speaking to your higher self, really. That's what you're doing every time that you're writing.
And do
You're
you
having a
recommend
conversation with yourself.
pen and paper, like actual handwriting? Yeah,
Handwriting, of course, I love the fact that we have technology and I can write a book on a computer. I would have never written my book on a paper with a pen
sure.
because it would have taken a lot more than a month, let me tell you. But my journaling is extremely important. Like, even if I am writing a book, I'm still gonna take out my journal every morning and I'm gonna write something. And it doesn't have to be every morning, but it can be during the day. But at least I do it once a day just to express myself with myself. I want to be
Mhm.
in my bubble. I want to be able to say whatever I want to say
Mhm.
on paper and release this energy that is within me that needs to always move. And so you can do this whatever you want, but for me,
That's
writing
it.
is very effective because it makes me be creative. It makes me have insights about where I am in my life, how I'm seeing my life, what do I do have to let go, how am I taking things personally or not. It's just a beautiful way of communicating with yourself. So
And
the
I think
letters
that I
also
think that I think you said something really important, that energy needs to move, because what
yes.
happens if we don't express ourselves for whatever reason, like we don't like, I mean, we show up as an entrepreneurs, but we still withhold certain things. We still show up differently, right?
Yeah.
We have way more thoughts, way more feelings, way more vibe that needs to go through us. So it needs to move, and it moves
Needs to
when
move.
you talk to yourself. It does actually move. And you
Absolutely.
impersonate like as if you are talking to someone.
Yeah,
So
for sure. You're
yeah,
having a conversation on paper. That's what
that's
you're doing.
powerful.
It
That's
is,
really
it's very
powerful.
powerful. And I know a lot of people that don't write at all. And I'm always like, it's your choice. And I'm thinking because they've never really experienced it, they don't believe that it's going to be fun for
And
them.
so,
But I'm always like, I wish you would just,
oh my
you
God.
just try it a little bit and see how freeing it is because it's just you. Like like I said, you don't have any rules with writing. Almost everybody knows how to write. It's not
Oh,
difficult
I
to
just
write.
had another thought and insight, and probably it's natural to you now, but to me, it just dawned on me because our communication, if we are entrepreneur, and if our communication is only about communicating something to the marketplace,
Hmm.
that means we are getting this conditioning back because we are always sort of guessing or modeling or something what we need to say, so
Yeah.
that instead of just letting it freely flow
Yeah.
from that place that is not conditioned.
Yes,
Oh my
absolutely. Yeah.
God.
Marketing is so, it's very particular because people that have been studying in marketing, they have the ways of saying like you have to say this thing that certain way to attract this certain audience and blah 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 blah. So yes, it's always very kind of controlled in the way that you
But
have to
that's
say
what I'm
things.
changing. That's what we are
Yes.
changing. So I
And
have,
that's what needs to change too,
because
right? So that
energy,
the audience can adapt. It's
I
the
sometimes say
audience.
your energy is your energy is your best marketing hook. Now,
Hmm.
me,
Yeah.
marketing geek, saying that, and like marketing, like junkie, as somebody called me, so, and I learned all
Yeah.
the principles or all that stuff was, you know, so cool. But now I'm saying your energy is your best marketing hook. You can, your strategy can flop or
Hmm.
whatever, your energy can still pull you, towards in the right direction,
Yeah. Yeah.
or the other
And
way
again,
around. You can use the right word and everything. And I used to, I like, I mean,
yeah.
when I
And the
write
right
copy,
words.
I
What are the right
know
words,
what
right?
words to say
Yeah.
and use and why. So what? You know, I mean,
Yeah. Because
yeah.
what we're doing is because we're again going with the trend, I would say, of marketing where things need to be said the way that they're said so that we can attract the specific audience for whatever, right? what's happening is that we're again creating this expectation for people to kind of comply to that style again. We're not making, it's kind of almost like we're making a choice for the audience that we want to reach, that this is what they want to hear. But what happens if audiences should be able to adapt to what is being said?
Mhm.
You know, there needs to be a little bit more flexibility so that everybody can start to become who they are and be, you know, authentic, because this is what it's about. To be free is to be
That's
the most
it.
authentic that you can be. And so if you're confined again in kind of like rules of how you should say things for your business, then you're not being in your
I
authenticity.
Yes, and so now you know the way marketing usually starts from marketplace research.
Mhm.
I think now I know, right, that we need to do that internal research
Yeah,
first and sell the bloody thing to
exactly.
yourself first,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
otherwise, and I think this is a huge, huge blind spot for so many marketers and marketing coaches and whatever, and in network marketing industry in particular. I think, like, somebody starts out with a mission and then they coach people how to create things, but I think they have a blind spot thinking that those other people they're coaching, they are also on board with their mission,
Mhm.
whereas
Yeah.
those people can have a completely different mission and perception of their purpose and all those other things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like it's to be honest, it's very confusing for people like that are very much into their spirituality and they want to uh I would say, and again, I'm using this word carefully, but they want to succeed in the
Hmm.
sense where they want their projects to go somewhere and they want to reach an audience. And I'll be really honest, like I struggle with that because I do want to stay who I am. And I'm a very blunt and authentic person. And I'm not afraid to say what I want to say. I'm not afraid to deliver the message that I want to deliver. And I don't want to be stepping on eggshells, just to please other people. I want this book to be what it is, and I want it to speak for itself. So it's always kind of like, yeah, because it is a completely different world now of where you want to continue to be who you are and also expand in who you are. But to expand in who you are, you have to let go of all of these, construct that we've been told that this is the way that we have to do things, because if we don't do it that way, we're not going to have visibility, we're not going to have reach the audience that we want to reach. And again, the other thing that I've been also um kind of, I'm not going to say struggle, but it's been kind of interesting. This is what I'm going to say. It has been interesting is that um, I sometimes, just want to I just want to show what I want to show, and I don't want to have to think too much about the hook and all of that. I just want to say what I have to say, and I'm always thinking to myself, well, how are people going to be interested in that? Because people are so used to seeing things as being exaggerated, probably, or very dramatic, and this book is not dramatic at all. It's very blunt and direct, so it's kind of like, "Ooh, how do I navigate all of this?" But I always come back to, you know what? I'm very passionate about what I'm doing and who I am, and also about, yeah, just really understanding that my inner peace is more important than anything else in my life. And so it's about allowing what is unfolding in my life and how it's
Yeah.
unfolding, and not judging it and not judging the timing of it as well. And just,
That's
yeah.
it. I think that, I think when we work from that place, when we do, and I work is not the right word, really. So many things changed, and even the words that I want to use or don't want to use anymore. But
Mhm.
when we create, I guess it's, from that place, the right people are coming, the right people resonate, aligned people and aligned clients are coming. And when I follow quite a few people on the spiritual side of things, oh my God, the raving tribes they have.
Mhm.
And those people stick with them forever. That's right.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
For
the
sure.
energy, and I there are people that I watched everything I could find, or listen to their podcast, the whole podcast, and I listen to it again and again just to be in that energy.
In that energy, exactly, because it's the feeling that you're feeling while you're listening to that person. It's not even that person, it's what you're feeling
Yeah.
resonates with you, right? So you want to have just you just want to have more of it, right? So I think that that's why people are do stick to certain people, because when they're around them and they're hearing what they're saying, it's kind of like they're connecting to who they are in that moment. That's why they're so interested. They're
Mm.
interested because, and again, that's what I explained in one of the letters. You're actually wanting to hear more about that person because that person is so aligned with who they are. And
Mhm.
then you're just like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be aligned with yourself. I want that. I want to feel that
Yes.
every day. So you're very attracted to that, right? So yeah, it's kind of contagious. It's a contagious
It is,
energy.
it is. So this is amazing. I really love this conversation. And I have a couple of sort of like blitz questions I want to ask you. But before that, um, uh, tell us how you help people and where they can find you.
Sure. So right now they can find my book on Amazon. So wherever you are in the world, amazon.ca.com.uk. It's all there. It's called Letters from You to You. It looks like this so that you
Mhm.
see the image of it. And other than that, you can go on my website as well. I have a website with a couple of things on there, which I have I have kind of like a YouTube show that I'm doing as well. It's to help people just remember who they are, and we're having really authentic conversation like you and I are having, and it's about inspiring stories of them having just gone through a lot of healing themselves through difficult situations in their lives. So I'm doing that side thing just for I'm doing it really just to be inspired myself, and I love it. So you can find that as well. My YouTube show is called Remembering You, but it's on my personal channel, which is Ellie Laliberté on YouTube. So my website is lettersbyellie.com. And on
And
that
I'll
as
put all the
well,
links in the show notes.
yeah,
So,
we can put
yeah.
all the links in there. But on top of that, I have a program as well that I offer, a coaching program that is pretty cool. It's made up of writing journal writing as well. Journal therapy that they're going to be doing with me, and as well they're going to be doing some breath work because I that has been part of my journey of healing big time. And I do it has to be part of the program, because if you want to go deep inside of yourself, breath work, moving energy like we were talking before, it's a very big modality. It's very important to be able to move that energy with your breath. So we have breath work, and then we have also a hypnotherapy in there with someone who is certified as a hypnotherapist, and she will be there to help you reprogram and put new program inside of you after having done all of the work of going inside of you and really looking at your patterns, and seeing how you can release and doing the release. And then she's there to just kind of like, because you've made space, she's there to actually just bring new programming inside of you, because now you have done space. So yeah, I have that. And other than that, they can follow me as well, like on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I'm pretty much in a couple of platforms and doing my best to kind of be visible, LinkedIn as well. So it's all going to be, I guess,
Yeah, super.
in the
So I would definitely encourage everyone to go and check the book out and everything
Mhm.
else as well, just being in the energy as we talked, and also doing the actual stuff and, following a method. It's a flow, but it's good to have a method. We do need methods as
Yeah,
well, right? To be able to manifest whatever we want to manifest.
yeah.
And so I normally ask, you already kind of at the start of our conversation told me about what you think about the name of the podcast. I ask, what it means to you, I ask my guests, but to other very, very quick questions without thinking. So what change in the world would you like to see?
I would love for people just go inside of themselves and build this inner world before anything else, unconditionally.
And what impact would you personally like to make in the world?
The impact that I would like to do in the world is just to, yeah, give out this authentic energy for people to just be an example for people to know that they can truly be themselves and do whatever they want to do in their lives, as long as they reconnect as much as they can with themselves and be well in that. They can find freedom. That's kind of the impact that I want, being the example of being free in that sense of just
Right.
being an example. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Love that. And we really need more people like that. And
Mhm.
I think it's spreading. So,
Yeah. I think we're there as well, where there are a lot more people that are open, that are awakening, that are
Mm,
realizing that there's so much more to life than just what's going on
mm,
outside of them. So
for
we're
sure.
getting there, slowly but
Yeah,
surely.
for sure. Okay, that was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Ellie,
Thank
for
you.
being here with me, chatting the hour longer than an hour, just flew by. Really didn't feel the time. So thank you so much for what you're doing, for your energy. Really the work that you're doing. It's amazing. I absolutely love being, meeting people like you and discovering things like that. So yeah, thank you so much.
Perfect.
And
Thank you so much for offering this platform for people like me to be able to express themselves, who they are, and deliver something into the world that, people can really bring inside of them and just love themselves even more with.
my pleasure. And for the listener, if you enjoyed it, if you got lots of insights from this episode, please follow if you haven't done so, and share and spread the world. And I'll welcome you on my next episode in a week. Okay, bye for now.